Hi everyone. Welcome to part 3 of our series of building a chatbot in R using Shiny and the OpenAI API. Today is all about deployment. I'll show you 3 different ways to deploy the app that we built in video 2. The first is to deploy it on Posit Cloud. This is quite similar to Posit Connect if you've used that service before. The second is shinyapps.io, and the third is HuggingFace Spaces. Let's dive in. All right, so we're back in the chatbot project within our Posit Cloud environment, and we can go ahead and run the app to make sure that it's still working for us. So we'll ask it to describe our studio in 5 words. Okay, looks to be working well for us. So the first thing we're going to do is publish to Posit Cloud. Connect is what I use professionally at work, so it's certainly on the mind. We'll go ahead and select this one here. All right, here is our deployed app on Posit Cloud. We can test it out again, so let's do our trusted what is 2 plus 2. And look, it's not working. Okay, I actually knew this wasn't going to work because I had it happen to me before. What we're missing here is our API key. Remember that was set using our .r environ file. So we need to deploy that .r environ file with our app as well. Okay, so we can jump back over to our environment here, and when we click deploy, so another way you can do that is from this pane here. You notice I don't see a way to pick additional files. Well, I can go and grab my .r environ file. In this case, I have a project-specific one. If you are using one for your entire environment, you might have to go kind of further up for the project level. The easiest way to find this is use this. So edit our environ, and you can specify either user, which will cover everything, or just for the project. Okay, so we'll go back to our project, and I'm actually just going to copy this .r environ file into the chatbot folder. And then when we click deploy, we now have the .r environ file available for us to select. I'll go ahead and click publish. Okay, here is our redeployed app. We can ask it, say, what is a .r environ file? This time it should work for us because it should have the environmental variable set for our OpenAI API. And there we have it. We get a decently long response coming from the GPT 3.5 model. And let's go ahead and bump up to 4, ask it a coding question. And I'll say, how can I edit that file using the use this package? The GPT-4 model is a little bit slower. Okay, so lots of details in here. I'm going to skip those for now. And you have now successfully deployed an app to Posit Cloud. Okay, so now we're ready to deploy an app to shinyapps.io, our second destination. And I'm going to jump over to the website here for that. Again, shinyapps.io. Prompting me to log in, I'll use GitHub to do so. And in order to connect to either your local RStudio IDE or in our case, Posit Cloud, we're going to want to go into the tokens section. So you can click, so I just created a new token here. We can click show. So I just clicked the show button. And what it's asking us to do is to use the RS Connect or RStudio Connect package to establish the account information, basically to make this connection for us. We can copy this over here and jump back over into Posit Cloud. If I run this code in the console, We will now have this connected for us. So you'll now see that we have shinyapps.o populated in our publish pane. So if I did that a little too quickly for you, click Other Destination from this deployment dropdown that you see here. So click that dropdown, Other Destination, shinyapps.io, and we're going to want to deploy the .r environment as well in this case. And we'll just call this our chatbot. There's some naming conventions for shinyapps.io, so you can't add things like spaces. We'll go ahead and click Publish. So I've deployed it before. That was the warning that we got there. It was asking if I wanted to do this. So when I was practicing, I went ahead and deployed an app there. This is just redeploying that for us. By the way, if you are creating your own connection to shinyapps.io, you should keep this token secret, much like I did in previous videos for the OpenAI API token. I will be deleting this token at the end of this video, so don't bother trying to copy it down. So shortly, we should see the deployment complete for us over to shinyapps.io. You can follow along if you're interested by reading the log there. Okay, looks like this is open for us. This time we'll ask it to, let's say, describe the creator of the tidyverse in 7 words. All right. Let's see if the GPT-4 version works like we did before. All right, so that seems to be working for us. We can go to the shinyapps.io website, and you can do some management of this if you want. It, I believe, is open by default. So that's worth confirming on your own. Yeah, so this is public, which is not true for the Posit Cloud instance. So it's important to pay attention to these different features when you're choosing a destination to deploy your app. All right, now on to the next one, which is HuggingFace. All right, so we're ready to deploy to HuggingFace back in our Posit Cloud environment. I will warn you before we get into the details here that this is a little bit of an advanced approach. One of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to pull down the repository for the HuggingFace spaces. So we're going to nest a Git project inside of our project. Now, to be clear, I did not know how to do that, so Google was helping me here. We're going to use git submodule add. And this is, you can search around for this, of course, on your own to read more about this, but we're gonna trust Google on this one. And what I'm doing here is git submodule add, and then we're gonna put this in a folder called r-chatbot. Actually, I'm gonna say hf.chatbot. All right, so when we come into our main project, we have all of the files within this HF chatbot page here, and I'm going to go ahead and change our directory with CD in there. So effectively, we're working inside of here as well. And what we need to do is replace a couple of these files, and I'll do that again in the terminal, or I can do it from the R console. So file.copy. And we want to take our chatbot / app.r file, and we want to paste it to the hf.chatbot app.r. We'll need to say overwrite equals true. Then we're going to do the exact same thing with the helper, and we'll just have this as the destination. We don't need overwrite in that case. And we're not actually going to use the .r environment file. So you can now see within the HF chatbot folder, we have the app.r and this helper file. And just to validate, yes, here we go, that looks good to me. We need to open up the Docker file. I mentioned that this was a bit of an advanced topic, and we're going to need to include all of the packages that are part of this project. So in addition to these listed here, we need purrr, we need glue, we can get rid of GG extra, and I think that should be it here. Oh, of course we need HTTR2. That would have not been great. Sorry about that. I accidentally closed the window on us. Okay, so we're back in here. This looks good to me. I meant to save it and I accidentally closed the window. All right, so we're ready to commit these changes and deploy. We can do a little bit of cleanup actually into this folder as well. I'll get rid of this file from the previous deployment. We can go into the README page to change the name for this, and I'll say our chatbot as our name, and maybe we can do a robot emoji for this. And then, yeah, all of that looks good to me. If you are, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but if you're not following along, I did make a dedicated video on how to deploy Shiny apps to HuggingFace, so I would encourage you to go check that out as well. So this looks pretty good to me. What I am going to do now is go ahead and add these changes. I'll say git add -a, git commit -m initial chatbot deployment, and we will do git push to push the changes to this repository. All right, it looks like it did not like our credentials. So I'm going to try the git pane to see if we have any. We'll commit those changes, see if this gives us any better. We'll add, for in this case, the same thing we've said, initial app deployment, commit. All right, let's go ahead and push those changes. I think that successfully pushed the changes to the GitHub repo, but not to HuggingFace. All right, so this is a little bit of a, excuse me, a little bit of a pain to get this working. I'm gonna use the same trick that we used. Maybe I'm not. Okay, so for this submodule, what we're gonna have to do is the same trick I used in the last one, and I'm gonna replace my token here. This one I do plan on reusing, so I will pause the recording briefly. I'm going to save this file with my token here, and then we should actually be able to push to that repository. All right, I mentioned that this was not the easiest way to deploy the application, and though I anticipate it will get easier. The terminal wasn't working for me. It kept saying that it couldn't ask for the username. My git trick, it looks like it didn't work this time, the git config. So what I ended up doing in this case was changing the working directory to the HF chatbot and then using the girt package. And then when I did git push, it prompted me for my credentials that then were accepted. Now let's jump over to HuggingFace. We should see some of these changes coming in. It had to, okay, good. It would have had to rebuild the container for us, and I do not expect this to work. We haven't told it anything about our API key. All right, and the grayed out here, or whatever, the faded out, is indicating to us that it's not working. What I'm going to do is go down, I'm into the settings for this space. And in here, we can set our secrets. So what I'll do is say OpenAI API key. Then in here, I will copy the API key. I'm not going to show that step just so I don't have to keep deleting API keys. And then I'll click Add New Secret. All right, so the secret has been added. If we go back to our space, that did trigger a rebuild, as you can see here. And this shouldn't take very long because we didn't actually change anything besides the environmental variables for this, or the environment variables. Let's try this one more time. Didn't like something about this. Let's see. Okay, let's see if we can get this to succeed for us. Try one more time with what is 2 plus 2. Ask for a response. With a few false starts behind us here on getting this HuggingFace deployment to work, I think this latest one might do okay. The issue is that the secrets on HuggingFace are not exposed by default when you're using a Docker-based deployment, which is what we're doing. So if we add this line that I just pasted into our Docker file, this should expose that secret that specifically has to match the OpenAI API key. There's some other helpful stuff from the documentation. I'm not going to go through what each of them do for two reasons. One, I don't fully understand them, and two, this video is already long enough. The next line here is setting the OpenAI key by basically printing or using cat to grab this OpenAI key secret, and then writing it to a .r environment file. So this can work much in the same way as we did for the other deployments. The reason we didn't just deploy it with the .r environment file is because this would be sitting in the repository, so it would be exposing our secrets to anybody who had access to our space. Okay, so with this in mind, we can now save that. I will go ahead and commit these changes, and I'll say have secret write to .r environ file. Push that change. I don't love that it didn't say anything to us here. Oh, whoops, helps to looks like I had an extra letter there. Okay, spelling is important, especially when it comes to the terminal, but I think we got there for the most part. There was my ChatGPT trying to figure this out. We'll jump, okay, there's the documentation that I was using, and now we will actually go to the correct page. This should be building, yep. So it's gonna be rebuilding our container based off the changes that we said there. And here's the specific part where it's saving the OpenAI key value to the .r environment file. It's installing the packages, all part of the build process, of course. And once this is complete, if we're lucky, this actually will work this time. All right, it's unclear to me when it actually refreshes because the page seems to mostly look the same. So I tend to kind of click around a bit. I don't think this is quite the latest version yet. Okay. Let's see if this one works for us. Okay, not a great sign there, but maybe that was the container actually starting up. Darn, looks like it didn't want to work for us. Well, this has now exceeded my, I would say, my knowledge and what exactly is going on here. So I'll leave this open. Sometimes deployments don't go well. I will have to learn from one of you of how to do this appropriately in the future. I can go in here and confirm that This looks like it's doing what we would expect it to. Just to validate that we do have the OpenAI API environment or secret here within our repository. So apologies we couldn't come to a successful end here. I'll try it one more time just in case it hadn't actually reset on us quite yet. Yep, no luck, and unfortunately some of the print statements I've tried to add in here to give a little bit of debugging aren't showing up in the log, so this makes it even a little bit more difficult to debug as well. So I'll have to answer this in a future video. Thanks for bearing in there for me, but I think it's important to show that not everything is successful. All right. I guess it's a bit embarrassing to say that we didn't get all 3 of our deployments to succeed, but I'm going to leave that there because that's reality sometimes. Not all of our deployments are successful. Maybe in a future video I can learn from one of you and reveal the solution to make HuggingFace spaces work with secrets with a Docker deployment and Shiny. I hope you'll stick around for more videos in the future. I'll try to have many more successes than I do failures, but I hope that you can learn from both. Thanks for sticking with me on this one, and I hope to catch you in the next one.